Hey, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille. Go ahead and just tell me in the comments below if you can hear me loud and clear so that we can get the show on the road. A little lotion never hurt anybody, especially, mafuta na yapoa. I think na yapoa mafuta. All right, here it is. Hope you guys had a fantastic day and you're ready for my little dissertation here. As is my custom, I try to jump on here a few minutes before the news so that I can give you my 2 cents worth on today's events. So what you need to do, guys, wherever you're watching me from, please tell me in the comments below if you can hear me loud and clear. And already I can see somebody saying loud and clear. Thank you so much. Guys, let's get into it. Okay, let's talk about it. I'd like to first of all talk about the street vendors and what the UPND has said in response to the street vendors. Now, let me begin by saying for many, many years, street vendors somehow convinced politicians that without the street vending vote, politicians wouldn't be able to get far. Somehow the street vendors hoodwinked politicians into believing that the only vote that mattered in the entire electoral process was the vote given by the street vendors. So in effect, you had a bunch of people who traded on the street and who manipulated politicians by telling them, if you remove us from the street, you will lose our vote. Consequently, you will not win the general elections. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. There has never been a bunch of bull roar ever created and concocted by any group of people worse than that on the face of the earth. The most insincere, the most disingenuous group of people that you will ever deal with are street vendors that try to manipulate politicians just to get their way. So here it is. The UPND has said, well, you're not the only voters. Have you heard this? This is the response by the UPND. The UPND is saying, well, we're putting the city first. We're putting functionality first. And guys, there's nothing wrong with that. Whenever a municipal, whenever a local authority, whenever the civic center sits at a round table and says, let's put the functionality of the city first. Let us put cleanliness and order front and center of the functionality of this city, this town, this country, this municipal. Let's do that. Once you do that, everything else falls in place. Earlier today, I was on Cairo Road and I quoted the famous quote, "We must rage against the dying of the light." Oh, brothers and sisters, I tell you, Zambian citizens, there has never been a greater time than this to rage against the dying of the light. What does it mean when someone says rage against the dying of the light? We have to get upset when the dying of normalcy begins to happen right in front of our eyes. The dying of decency, the dying of cleanliness, the dying of functionality. You and I, we have to rage against the dying of the light. Functionality is the light. Decency is the light. Cleanliness is the light. And so here it is. The UPND have done something that very few political parties have been able to do. They've actually been able to look into the eye of the street vendor and say, you know what? We demand better of you. We want you to be part of the ecosystem of the CBD. We want you to function in the markets where you are safe. You have shelter, you have access to clean water and toilets. In the markets where you pay your fair share by paying your rent, your stipend to the council, and the council receives a revenue from your economic participation, because everybody knows out on the street, the only people that benefit from street vendors are kadas, party kadas. Honey, that ship, SHIP, that ship has sailed. The Kada ship has ridden off into the distance. The sun has set on that tyrannical reign of Kadas. We're in a new dispensation, is what it is. We have evolved, and guess what? You, whoever you are, you have to evolve with it. And so here it is. Many of you don't know that the number of street vendors, let's take, for example, Lusaka, because Lusaka is where I live. It's my hometown. If you are a resident of this great city, you know what I'm talking about. The city of Lusaka had a registered number of about 12,000 vendors on our streets. Cairo Road, Lumumba Road, Freedom Way, Cha-Cha-Cha. 4 streets. Now, 12,000 people are hardly a significant number that can tilt the political scale of an entire nation. Now, of course, you could argue that, there's cities like Ndola, Kumufulira, and all that. But still, all those cities, all those other cities pale into utter insignificance in comparison to the number of street vendors that we had here in Lusaka. But here it is, the local government, the local authority, the municipal took the bold stance. They took the bold stance of putting the city first, putting functionality first. And the results are self-evident. They are. I mean, when you walk through town, you can see the positive gains that the city is making. Traffic has been reduced significantly because people are no longer trading where they're not supposed to be trading. When you go to city planning, the city planning department there at Lusaka City Council, you will never hear one director talk about how a street was originally designed for trading. Streets are not designed for that. They're not. Streets are designed for vehicles, motor vehicles. They're designed for pedestrians to cross them. They have never been designed for people to trade on the street. Why? Because that causes traffic to slow down significantly. Additionally, street vending promoted crime, pickpocketing, thievery, delinquency. You had all these juvenile delinquents doing nothing but hanging around under the banner of street vending. Look at Kafue Road, Kafue Roundabout, full, rife, inundated, choked by thieves and vagabonds and young men that would snatch your phone from your car as you're driving around the roundabout and your window happens to be open. And these young boys, like blood to a shark, they suss you out, boy. They sniff you out. They're watching you. All of that was happening because of street vending. Now that the streets are clear, it doesn't mean we've eradicated crime. What it means is that when I say we, I'm talking about us, the Zambian people, okay? It means we have reduced it significantly. We've brought it down. We've brought it down, and that's what we want. And so far be it from street vendors to think that they have the power to decide the destiny of a nation. They don't have the power, not them alone. They are a voice amongst voices. Ooh, that's a good one there, boy. Tell you what, that'll put some hair on your chest. The moment you begin to embrace that truth, the moment you begin to engulf yourself in that reality, you will live a much better life. When you begin to realize that street vendors are simply a voice amongst other voices. They are not the voice. They are certainly not the determining voice. as was believed back years ago. They said, no, if you touch the street vendors, you touch the vote. No such thing. No such thing. Well-meaning citizens of this nation from all walks of life are added voices in the electoral process. You, me, Mr. Joe Schmo, Mr. and Mrs. John Q. Taxpayer, Bashuwadia, Banatembo, Bahamanyanga. All those people are part of the voices that determine the political destiny of this nation. Don't be deceived that Kuti, no, the only people who talk, the only people that determine the political destiny of this nation are street vendors. Nonsense. That is, in the words of Koam, those are nonsense. Just get in line, okay? Get in line. You'll be fine. Nobody is trying to hurt you. Nobody is trying to stop you from feeding your family. Nobody's trying to disenfranchise you. The only thing that's happening here is a clarion call to normalcy, to decency, to cleanliness, and to order. That's all it is, to order. Are you hearing that, guys? You should say something, because let me tell you something. It's real. It is. It's real. The country has evolved. You, my brothers and sisters, must evolve with it. Okay? All righty. Lastly, let me just say, I got 6 minutes. I'll only take up 3. Burkina Faso. You know, this country over there in Burkina Faso is, where is that? Is that northwest part of Africa, in that region? Okay, I think that's where it is. Northwest, isn't it? Northwest part of Africa, yes. Burkina Faso, since its independence, you know, it was the former French colony. It was colonized by the French, gained its independence back in 1960. Since 1960 to date, Burkina Faso has at least had 10 coups d'etats. 10, count them. Oh, for goodness sake, 10 coups d'etats. 10. You know what 10 is? 10 is these fingers plus these fingers. Put them together and you got 10. Mwewa that quote Burkina Faso. I've seen some of you politicians looking to Burkina Faso as a source of inspiration. You are irresponsible in your declaration when you say, look at what's happened in Burkina Faso. If we are not careful, it will happen here in Zambia. Don't be foolish. You politicians, don't be stupid and don't be foolish. You are not a patriotic Zambian citizen if you look to countries like Burkina Faso for your inspiration. You don't love this nation. All you do is you love yourself. You are self-serving. You're self-centered. You are self-absorbed. You are a political narcissist. If you look at Burkina Faso and say, that's the source of your inspiration. And because of Burkina Faso's history of coups d'etats, that, oh, that's going to happen here in Zambia. Never. We've been down that road before. The Zambian people collectively rejected the spirit of coups d'etats. And if you are talking like that, whoever you are, there are no words in the human vocabulary that can adequately describe how unpatriotic and how irresponsible you are. You've got no right to demand a table at the deciding factor of this nation. If you're going to look at Burkina Faso as a source of your inspiration, then sir, madam, we will put a line through your name instead of under it. You're not patriotic, you're not a Zambian, and we do not want you here. How dare you try to take for granted the peace that we enjoy as a nation. Granted, Zambia is not a perfect country, but we are not warmongers. We do not embrace conflict. We do not embrace military conflict. We do not embrace civil strife. We don't. And any political party leader that hints in that direction, sir, you are a bottom feeder, and you do not deserve to be called a leader. Ooh, that rhymed there, boy. It did. All right. Now you go run. You go run and tell that.